let's talk about setbacks and comebacks. And I'll do this very quickly. That what happens in life is that we all start off with some form of momentum. If Elaine and I were to go to a school and ask little kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? A little kid may say, a dancer, a model. I want to be LeBron James. You don't hear little kids say, I want to be bankrupt 5 times. I want to be divorced 7 times. Because they're talking from a place of innocence and they're talking their dreams. So most kids start with momentum. So I do some work with psychologists and psychiatrists, and they have found that even if your child is not outwardly enthusiastic, most likely they are inwardly enthusiastic, that they are thinking things in their minds and in their spirits where they have momentum. Now, what happens is we have this momentum, life interruptions take place. So for my life, we were moving, I was happy, I was playing Little League Baseball, I was watching Soul Train, I had a big afro like Michael Jackson, and my life was great. And then one day my father went to go get some food, went through a green light, like you should, a man hit him, ran a red light, and my father passed. Now, that is really a terrible thing. I want you guys to catch this because in our house, Elena, we had this energy, we had momentum, we had 5 kids, and my father was funny, he was joyful, he was 6'3", tall man, good looking man, and he had a great spirit about him. And now, boom, he was taken that fast. Mm. And so our lives went from this momentum to this life interruption, okay, that instead of having a comeback, it literally took the Storey family 10 years to crawl back to a place. Mm-hmm. And so that's one reason I'm so excited to teach about the setback. A setback is a problem, a difficulty, an issue, a complication. And let's walk through this one. A setback is a misfortune. Mm. Okay. So Elena, if you think about it in your own life, when you've had setbacks, if I call it a misfortune, we could miss our fortune because of a misfortune. Mm. See, I think so many people get stuck in a setback, like a divorce or something happened bad when you were a child. Yeah. And you miss your fortune. And when we talk about fortune, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about joy, peace of mind, the right mindset. You miss your fortune because of a misfortune. So when I talk about that, Elena, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think about a few things. I think about some of the misfortunes that I've been through that I have allowed to take me off track and hold me back and set me back for a decade, like you. And then I think about this. I think about the moment when I learned how to really hit a mastery level black belt in life, and I'm self black belt given. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not a professional at really anything, but in this I am, because I learned this rule, Tim. I learned to be a gold digger, and I'll tell you where that came from. It came from being accused of being a gold digger when I first hooked up with Grant, which really freaked me out because I've always been this independent woman, and I never needed a man for anything. And I was very insulted by that, so much so that I could have allowed that moment to say, screw this, because I didn't even really want a relationship when I was first with Grant. But I could have used that to be like, screw this. I don't need your stupid friends and your family and whatever. Like, but I don't need to deal with this drama. But I learned how to embrace it. And I learned how to say, you know what? I am a gold digger. It was a weapon that I learned how to use, where I could take an insult, claim it as my own, and throw it against others so that it can't affect me anymore. So that was lesson number one.
Very powerful.
Was what I realized was that I'm a gold digger because I know how to dig for gold. And it's not just a meme or a nice thing to think about. It's I dig for gold. And when you dig for gold, it's usually in dirt and mud and uncomfortable circumstances. And it's not just like an Easter egg hunt for a 2-year-old where you put the eggs in you have to hunt and find for gold. And so I've learned in my life since that moment, in the last decade, in the last 12 years, that no matter what bad circumstance I've gone through, and even the good ones,
Yes.
that I continually mine for gold. But I didn't do that prior to this cognition. And so I'm constantly looking at, what can I learn from this? What can I get out of this? How can I improve? How can I just take one little tiny victory from the most heinous thing that happens to me? And if you can figure out how to do that, you really become a gold digger, and you start living at a mastery level, because you then realize that you'll never be a victim again, no matter what it is.
Okay, so powerful. And one of the things that I love about you is that you're really talking about, if you fail forward. Just keep getting up and going, okay? And what I love about you also is that you want to master something. Like if you're going to shoot guns or rifles, you want to be a master.
Yeah.
The same thing when you're working out, you want to be a master at something. And so I think what happens many times when people have a setback, they minimize themselves and don't think that they can gain mastery. And that's one beautiful thing about this program that you have for all these amazing ladies and all your conferences for ladies, is you're teaching them not to minimize yourself because you had a setback, but you can still become a master even though you've been through some sort of a mess.
I agree with that. And not only that, when you learn how to embrace what happened to you and use it as your story, it actually fuels the purpose even more. And what I've found is that it even makes you more relatable.
Yes.
Like I'm sure everyone here has been through some circumstance in their life that was non-optimum. And that's what makes us human. It makes us relatable to one another, because I don't think anyone goes through life unscathed.
They do not. Okay, so let me give you some quick action steps, how to turn your setbacks into comebacks. So number one, when you have a setback, and we said a setback is a problem, a difficulty, an issue, a complication, it's a misfortune. Elaine and I talked about don't miss your fortune. Don't miss your fortune. Your fortune could be your joy. It could be watching your children grow up. It could be your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. Don't miss your fortune because of your misfortune, okay? So when most people have a setback, this is what they do. They sit in the setback. Some people settle in a setback, and watch how powerful this is. Some people cement themselves in a setback. So this is something, because we want you to learn, as Elaine and I teach you, that are you sitting in your setback? Are you settling in your setback? And have you decided to cement yourself in your setback? Now watch this word cement. If you break it down, it means a permanent place, a lasting place, a place where you continue. And some of you got divorced 17 years ago and you're still talking about it. So that's cementing yourself in a setback. Or some fool did something to you 27 years ago, and your mind is trying to get you to cement yourself in the setback. So when you have a setback, be careful not to sit, settle, and cement yourself.